My name is Liz Wright, and I am a professor of psychology at Northwest Vista College in San Antonio, Texas. And today I'm going to start a series of videos where we talk about using AI in higher education and why it is important for us to have knowledge and experience with using generative AI models so that our students can be ready for employability. The outcomes for this specific video relate to describing generative AI and large language models, describing benefits and disadvantages of using generative AI, recognizing levels of generative AI use in academic and professional work, and identifying how to indicate the level of generative AI usage in an academic or professional activity or assignment. Many college faculty have complex feelings about generative AI and large language models in college work and writing. The goal of education is to gain knowledge for use in life and in future careers while developing critical thinking and other skills such as professionalism, time management, problem solving, communication, and teamwork that employers desire. Many students see college and college courses as a step towards the opportunities of a better job and a higher wage. Other students see college as a hoop to jump through and not an enjoyable one in their quest to move into their career. Employers are requesting that new employees be well versed in AI usage, which brings up the age old question: how can I get experience in order to get the job if I can't get job experience without experience? Thus, it's important for faculty to recognize the importance of student learning regarding generative AI and large language model usage, while they also feel concerned that use of generative AI may decrease actual learning and critical thinking skill development. So let's take a look at some of the definitions that we're going to be using in this presentation. Generative AI, or generative artificial intelligence, refers to a computer or artificial system that can perform cognitive tasks typically done by human thought, such as creating, reasoning, and writing. They are referred to as generative as they generate outputs, including answers, writing, videos, and images. While these systems are designed to think and act like humans, the information they provide, or the outputs, can be incorrect and sometimes include ghost information or information that does not actually exist. Large language models are a type of AI that are trained on large data sets to recognize patterns in human language. They use, process, generate, and understand human language. When we're interacting with an online chatbot, we're interacting with a large language model. Using generative AI and large language models can have both benefits and drawbacks. Benefits or positive potential uses include things such as helping us to outline a project or to brainstorm ideas for a project. Generative AI can help to automate routine tasks for home, school, or our future career. It can help us summarize text that is challenging or long, or even helping us to reduce the wording of writing we have created. It can review our writing for grammar and word use difficulties. And as I wrote this presentation, it was helping me to do that. And it can do this in real time so that we don't have to wait for a human tutor. It can help us to generate ideas and find answers to questions, as well as explain topics that we can't fully understand. These benefits have drawbacks, though. Generative AI can create false, inaccurate, and incomplete information. When asked for references to its sources, it sometimes fabricates or makes them up, creating what we call ghost sources. Generative AI outputs can contain plagiarized information without citations. Thus, we need to be wary of plagiarism. Some generative AI outputs are biased and may even utilize unprofessional language. Another consideration is that generative AI programs may harvest and utilize users' information. One final drawback of AI use in general is resource usage. Currently, the creation and maintenance of generative AI requires many resources, such as water and electricity, which increases AI's environmental footprint and reduces sustainability. We want to also think about the computer science adage of garbage in, garbage out. If we, as a user, do not know how to create a prompt or question or request of AI, and we don't know how to do it well, then what we get back, the output, would also be not as good. So if we put garbage in, we're going to get garbage out. And this is why it's important for us to be able to know how to create useful prompts so that we can get useful outputs. As generative AI can complete tasks once done by humans, students going into the work field will need skills in creativity, critical thinking, data analysis, emotional intelligence, and problem-solving strategies. Focusing on these skills, as well as learning about the capabilities of AI, including how to create and streamline prompts to gather information. Machine learning and language learning models can help us to be successful in future careers. We will need to be adaptable, and we will need to be lifelong learners. Keeping up with new technologies will influence our employability. So there are some people that are concerned that AI will take over people's jobs. Another way to think about this is that without the creativity and the intelligence and knowledge of the human running the AI program, then the AI program would not be able to be effective in interacting with or adapting to humans. So while, for example, a teacher may go into ChatGPT or Gemini and ask it for help with creating lesson plans, as the teacher, as the knowledgeable person in the field, they recognize which ideas from ChatGPT may work, which outputs may work, and which ones may work with a little bit more tweaking, which we can learn to do through creating more useful prompts. Recent research indicates that generative AI can be useful in what we call cognitive offloading, or using tools to reduce what we need to think about or keep in mind. The same research found that as generative AI use increased, critical thinking scores decreased. Critical thinking, or our abilities to analyze, synthesize, and evaluate information, is important not only for academic success, but also for career success and for dealing with new information in everyday life. One concern is that as a society, we may become accustomed to relying on generative AI to offload our critical thinking, thus not practicing the skills to be effective consumers and employees. While portable internet gives us ready access to answers to questions we may encounter in our careers, some of that knowledge should be automatic after our higher education has been completed. Imagine that a nurse had to use the internet to look up how to give an injection or how to draw blood. These are skills that we assume should be well versed after finishing nursing school and should not have to review a video to do once they're in the field. In other areas of the work world, there are similar things that we should know once our education is completed. Accessing the internet or generative AI to cognitively offload these key skills for our future careers can decrease our critical thinking about those skills. Metacognition relates to a human's ability to plan activities based upon their knowledge of their own abilities and learning, to their ability to monitor how learning is going, using self-assessments and being self-aware, and to evaluating how their learning is progressing. Generally thought of as thinking about thinking, metacognition allows us to recognize what works for us in terms of learning strategies and what doesn't, as well as helping us to recognize where our learning gaps are. Metacognition and critical thinking share similarities in that they both require us to analyze and evaluate. Offloading critical thinking could negatively impact our metacognitive abilities as well, making it difficult for us to know what we truly do know and what we still need to learn more about in order to reach our learning or our performance goals. Data in 2025 indicated that high school and college students recognize the importance of learning to use generative AI for their future work, But these same students felt that high schools and colleges are not preparing them to use generative AI effectively and ethically in the world. Students indicated that if guidance, policies, or guidelines are available, they're not clear, thus making students feel anxious about using AI. So, a assessment scale was developed. Perkins et al. Developed the AI assessment scale to help faculty and workplaces communicate how generative AI can and should be utilized in completion of work. The scale lists 5 levels of generative AI involvement in completion of a project and gives examples of each. Level 1 indicates that no generative AI is to be used, while level 5 indicates that generative AI can be used extensively and creatively. So here we can see those levels of AI. So one example of no AI would be maybe an exam that we're taking. So if AI is not to be used on this particular assignment or assessment, the goal is to demonstrate core skills and knowledge. Level 2 would be AI planning. So AI can be used for brainstorming, for outlining, for initial research, but students need to develop and refine these ideas on their own. Level 3, AI collaboration. Here's where AI can be used in drafting, refining, and evaluating your text. It's your responsibility to evaluate any generative AI content you use and to make sure it's valid information. So think of level 3 as if you're having a peer review your work and giving you feedback about wording, giving you feedback about things that you may be able to add or remove from your writing. Level 4 is full AI. So AI may be used to create any elements of the task. Use an activity like this to learn the abilities for generative AI to assist humans in achieving their goals. So for example, in future videos, I will go through activities that will be full AI that you can use to learn how to use AI and also what the capabilities of AI are that you could use in your future careers or as a student. And then finally, level 5 would be AI exploration. AI should be used creatively to create a task, exploring what generative AI can do and how you can create and run programs to assist in new activities. So we might be asked by our employer to use AI to develop a program on AI usage for particular things in the workplace. So let's talk about the important ethical considerations when using AI. As we know, information gathered through generative AI use can contain errors. Thus, it is important that we check that information before using it. Do the sources it references actually exist? Can you find them? Can you read them yourself? Do at least 3 professional sources indicate the same findings or facts that the output has given you? Especially if we're using generative AI for level 4 or level 5 work, this is going to be extremely important. It would be unprofessional to present work that contains errors that can easily be recognized by others in our field. Use documentation is also going to be important. When using generative AI in completion of work, it's important to document what level of involvement generative AI use had in the process. Some work will require formal references to the use of generative AI in work, while other work could acknowledge the use of generative AI in the development of a project. Different writing styles, for example, like MLA, APA style, have specific instructions for formal documentation of generative AI use and will usually include the tool's name and version, as well as the prompts used to generate the content. You want to review the style guide for the style you're using for specific instructions. Acknowledging and disclosing generative AI use can be different based upon your instructor or your employer, so it's important to ask how the tools are expected to be acknowledged. One example is at the end of your writing, you can include a statement indicating the tool that was used, the purpose, and confirmation that the final work was reviewed for inaccuracies. So for example, one may write, ChatGPT was used to brainstorm topics for this module, and Grammarly was used to review spelling and editing. All sources in this module were found and summarized by the author. So let's talk about some final takeaways. We need to be knowledgeable about using AI as faculty and as students. And so as faculty and teachers, we need to learn how to use it so that we can help students learn how to use it, because it is ultimately our goal as teachers and as college faculty to help our students be either college ready or job ready. So if we want our students to be career ready, we have to help them get there. Teachers and employers need to develop policies relating to AI usage, and they can use that Perkins scale to indicate what level of use is acceptable or expected. We have to remember that AI cannot replace knowledgeable professionals, but can allow us to gather ideas and analyze our work. And I will show you throughout this series how to ethically use AI to give you feedback about your work, to recognize where the gaps in your writing are so that you can make changes, so that maybe there are no questions or fewer questions about a presentation you're about to give or a submission that you're about to use. Analyzing AI outputs before using and implementing them is hugely important, as is documenting our use of them. So it's going to be important as we move into a new semester of working with new instructors, or as we move into a new role, to ask about the level of AI usage that is appropriate or acceptable, and then asking how we should be documenting that usage. So if you want to continue learning about AI in college, you can subscribe so that you can see new presentations as they are created. Thank you.